And we are live.
We are live.
Welcome to Spoken Openness. This is episode 23. And on today's podcast, we're going to talk about stuff. We're going to really...
Is it not 24?
It's 24.
It is? I think so.
I'm sorry. Okay, let's start again.
Okay.
I fucked up. All right, stop. Welcome to Spoken Openness, episode 24.
24.
24.
Yes.
This episode, we're really going to get into it. This episode, we're really going to come to the bottom of it. This episode, we are going to solve the questions that everyone is asking.
Yes, this episode, we really have some answers.
We've got some answers. So I know like
some heavy answers.
I mean, the last episodes, we're bringing up a lot of questions. We're bringing up a lot of vague topics of unknowable...
Yeah, we were all over the place with
metaphysical...
questions and... Yeah.
Large questions. This episode, we answer things that... We answer things.
In this episode, we find some really logical conclusions to some questions that have been raised about real mysteries, like real deep mysteries.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, so be prepared. Please do be prepared.
And
By the way, this one might go on for 3-4 hours. Easy. Right? I mean, these are... Because we have so many answers that I don't see how this could be a one hour thing.
And don't start thinking, oh, you guys, this might go on forever. I can see how long it is. I am watching on... I downloaded this episode, or it says that it's 45 minutes on my... Like, I can see that it's not 3 hours. Listen, guys. I know you think you understand what time means.
Yeah, but that's just because your own subjective experience of time is not part to mine, really.
It's
like
not
because
it's not accurate.
I've done so much meditation time, to be honest, and so my perception of time is really different from most people. Right?
One could say different, another person could say advanced. Let's not try to let's not
By the way, I hope that my sarcastic tone was good on that one, because it can be taken out of context, of course.
Yeah, we don't want people thinking we meant 3 hours. 45 minutes is 3 hours. We know that it's accurate, that 45 minutes is accurately
3 hours plus.
3 hours plus.
Sure. Yes.
It's not just 3
easy.
hours. So
right.
You have to be aware of... I would like to bring up a quote here.
Oh, I knew that you were going to say that. A quote.
So this is a thing we do. We kind of pop a quote in at the start of the episode, really get the juices flowing. All right, so this is by Aldous Huxley.
Aldous.
The great Aldous Huxley.
I'm pretty sure it's pronounced Huxley. Something like that. Yeah.
Aldous Huxley.
Yes, thanks.
So he said, all that happens means something. Nothing you do is ever insignificant.
Okay.
End quote. He didn't have the silence there. There's no ... So I should have ended the quote accurately.
Yeah,
I'll say it one more time.
Yeah.
All that happens means... Sorry, open quote. All that happens means something. Nothing you do is ever insignificant. Close quote.
Thank you for clarifying that, because we don't really want to confuse anyone with this quote. It's more, the intention is to enlighten.
Yes.
Rather than to create confusion.
The silence after might be like, insignificant. Is it?
Is
mark?
it?
Yeah.
I mean, because we both agree that specificity is very, 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 very important, right?
I would say very, 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 very important, but that's fine.
I mean, because I just want to emphasize that specificity is very important. So everything that takes place in the world has a meaning. Could be any meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
is this kind of just saying that cause and effect exists?
I guess it's that with a twist on meaning and significance, right?
Yeah, sure.
Which is the point, because there's no such thing as just cause and effect. There's meaningful causes and meaningful effects, right?
Well, I guess
I mean, at least that's just one way to look at it, and you can do that. You can choose to look at it that way.
If the idea is that you do something and in that action something else occurs that maybe you aim for, or maybe something that you didn't aim for, the fact that what you did had the result that it is important to know what the thing you did caused what the thing that happened. And so if you pay attention, maybe you can get some sort of insight into, hey, I kind of thought this was going to happen and this happened. And so maybe I didn't know what, and so that means something. Maybe there's something you can learn. There's some information you can get. And so except for, this is not just saying that, this is saying there's a why behind everything, right?
Right. I think so.
So, because I'm kind of taking it into like, your personal actions, but this means that all that happens. So that includes a volcano going off. That includes rain. That includes
all that happens.
Traffic.
Yeah. So just to be extra clear, it's a why behind everything that happens, not just everything, right? It's not a universal why. It's a why behind every action.
Do you think that's true? What do you think about that?
I could go for both and also go for either or, because in this case, if everything that happens has a meaning, and that means that everything you do in your life, every single decision you're going to make, has some sort of meaning behind it. You could take that into an understanding of destiny or some sort of what is it? Yeah, like fortune. Like there's a reason why you got to a certain place, but it also could mean that there's a deeper psychological meaning that you can attribute to your own story, which can then justify everything that happens. And so maybe what I'm saying is this quote by Mr. Huxley, this is not a fact, rather more of a proposition to look at things differently.
I agree. And it makes me think of synchronicity. It makes me think of when people see coincidences, and when people incorporate things that happen into larger meaning structures within their being and within their psychoanalysis of reality. I don't think that makes sense.
Their own connecting of patterns and situations to create a larger story.
And I don't think Mr. Huxley is talking about this, but it makes me think about that. I've been considering why we're saying nothing you do is ever insignificant, and he's talking about all that happens, but he is specifying that it's you. Nothing you do is ever insignificant. So it is saying that your actions are insignificant. Is like saying that there's no effect, really, isn't it? Insignificant is it didn't make any change. It didn't do anything.
I think so. So then he wouldn't be referring to a psychological meaning or some kind of
to the external
why, an answer to a why that someone could find.
Yeah,
he's basically just saying everything you do is gonna impact reality. Yeah, there's no action without effect, basically. And so
I think that's a very I think that's very there's kind of two conversations here. One conversation is, so you are a person who's taking action in the world, and that you see everything as what you do has an impact. And so the decisions you make and the choices you make become more important because and become more almost magical in that you're affecting things and that everything has an effect and by considering that impact all the time, then it is more meaningful. Things seem to be more meaningful because wow, if you hold on to the perspective that everything is resulting in an impact, then that to me that seems like, well, everything is more meaningful. The other conversation is considering that what happens external to you has some sort of deeper meaning that's related to you. And I know that's not directly about this quote, but it just made me think about it. And I think that's an interesting conversation when people are constantly on the lookout for signs or deeper meanings to things
or even using meaning as a way to hack existence or day-to-day mindset. But I don't think the Mr. Huxley is actually referring to this wave.
Mr. Huxley is not. He's not. Yeah.
I think it's the cause and effect wave. And that made me think of a phrase. I don't know where this comes from, but no man is an island. So it's just a worldview where no one is really living in a bubble or an absolute cave. No one is really outside the universe or the thing. No one is really living outside the game. I mean, there's more of that and less of that, and that also depends on what are we really calling the game or just life. You're not disconnected from life.
Right. Everything you can always expand outwards in order to make something that you're contained within.
Yes. What's the bigger umbrella, right?
There's always going to be a bigger umbrella.
Got it. Sure.
So, but I agree. So in that sense, you're not an island. It's just that's the way of thinking that everything is impacting everybody else, and that there's almost no way to get out of that. That is a part of existence, is the reality that you are both affected and affecting complex systems that you are embedded within. And it's impossible to get out of that, because action or lack of action is going to result in some sort of effect, which in that sense you could consider to be meaningful, because that meant this. And that's kind of a different way of applying meaning. And maybe that's an interesting convo, that you can use meaning in that sense to say they did this and it meant this, to discuss cause and effect. And so there definitely is a relation there.
And I that made me think about how the Buddhists tend to attribute a value hierarchy or a meaning related to at least some kind of morality, if I dare say that word again, in terms of if there's a significance to everything you do in life, there's an idea of cause and effect in terms of, if I refer back to the Buddhist example that I'm trying to give, is karma versus dharma, right? The idea, the notion, before doing an action, there's a notion that action might cause some negative consequences, or it might cause some positive consequences for you and others and the entire system, right? So I think there's a very specific notion in that tradition that not only that your actions are not disconnected at all from reality, but that your actions contribute to the positive consequences or the negative consequences almost in a perpetual manner, like forever, like constantly.
I would also like to bring in the idea, well, So everything you do is going to have a consequence on some dimension, on some aspect of reality, on some part of the world. It's going to have an effect. And in the both and tradition, there would be a positive effect maybe in some areas, and there might be a negative effect in some areas. So every single action will have a trade-off of positive and negative influences on different dimensions. And that is sort of maybe one of the things we've talked about, is the idea of whenever you're going to do something and choose to do something or not do something, then you're discriminating and you're doing something, which means you're not doing something else. And so you could always do so there's always something that you're choosing to do over an infinite number of things. And so it's about, and the problem is, and a lot of the reason why I think people choose inaction over action is because there's so many variables that go into an infinite number of action. So the best thing to do is to not do any of them, because being aware that any of them will result in one of the other ones not occurring is just overwhelming. And so
you choose
the
trick is to realize that your choice for inaction is also a choice and also has consequences.
Right.
And you can't not play the game. You can't avoid it.
Yeah. And I think maybe that's the fundamental, or a fundamental maybe reason.
Okay.
Maybe reason why, or I've thought about, I've had the thought quite often about this notion of the sort of monk ascetic individual who lives with limited material possessions and meditates frequently. And
are you talking about me? Because I don't want to make this personal. I'm just kidding. Yes.
And considering the idea that there's this notion that, if you dissolve your ego and basically you make the least amount of impact negatively on, say, your environment, and you flow with it and you don't change it, and you basically it's a form of psychological suicide, and you're like, I'm trying to not be a human as much as possible, and to be, I guess, just nothing or everything, and just be.
Yes.
And that is one of the examples of, that's inaction. You're achieving less positive influence than if you were doing some things good that sometimes had negative impact. So it's it's one of those things of, what's the point? What's the value? What are you trying to do? If you're trying to basically want to roll back the clock and be like, I want to achieve what I would have achieved if I didn't exist, then you're doing great as an ascetic monk life. Like, you're doing the best you can to have not been born.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yes.
And I think that, and I don't know if, I think, isn't Dharma is a Hindu notion?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I think there is, and I'm totally just talking out of my ass here. I don't remember maybe if this is, but I think the notion of Dharma is there is a path that you are on, and that is you, and the path is kind of already, maybe it's fate, but that there's a way of being that you could be that is a you way of being, and it unfolds, and it has some sort of Taoist element of path of least resistance of you are youing through time, and that's the thing to do, and that's contradictory, or that's opposite to maybe the ascetic Buddhist separate dissolve ego thing.
Yeah, I guess you could
And I'm making them black and white, and I'm comparing them, and I also don't know if my black and white comparison is even close to truth. But for the sake of the argument, let's pretend that there's something there, even if it's all straw men.
Yeah. What I think is that even in some Hindu traditions and Buddhist tradition, and I'm sure some Islamic traditions as well, they have a sense of some worldview surrounding cause and effect and how that impacts your mode of operating in the world. Mm-hmm. And I think you could make the case that it's for, like, if you're a cave monk versus a city monk, right? I guess you could define Dharma as applying to both cases. Like, if you're a cave mode, I guess they justify that as going through life with less friction as possible, and just avoiding all interaction altogether, and causing as less of an intervention with my actions. And so I don't want to cause. Right. I don't even want to kill a fly, And so the other.
But I'll also not save a fly.
Not what? Sorry?
I won't kill a fly, but I'll also not save a fly.
Not save a fly, yes. Right. And so if Dharma is more of a positive action through intervention, like making the world a better place, instead of not causing any more unnecessary actions, I guess that's, just a huge new wave that we could go into surrounding the potential meanings of Dharma. But just to
clarify just quickly, I just feel the need to contextualize my understanding of those things by saying I think it's true that every single sort of philosophical school has different people who interpret things and do different things with that information. And there's obviously Buddhists who are like, Buddhists, like live your life Buddhists and do your and take action Buddhists. And then there's ascetic members and monk-like people from every single creed throughout time. Almost there's always been the monk versions of whatever. And so just to put that out there as to not be like this Buddhism is this and Hinduism is this.
But even maybe within the same tradition, there could be an inclination to experience pure consciousness and renounce your own ego and do every day everything that's necessary to not engage in thought.
Definitely.
And also maybe someone also wants to have a family and live near a city or whatever.
Which is very interesting. The idea that I think like meditation is almost a universal between, if depending on your definition of meditation, you could say that it's there with lots of religions, if not all of them, and also with philosophy, and also with
absolutely, man. Yeah,
contemplation, and you could however far you want to open the boundary of the meaning of meditation, then the more things you can fit under the umbrella, so to speak.
Exactly.
How did we get here? Mr. Huxley?
Yeah, dude, that guy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we talk about meditation for a bit, I just wanted to mention that I guess meditation is one of the OG tools for doing what we've been talking about, for allowing yourself to be an outsider observer of action effect, and that could even be taking place only in your own mind, not even in physical reality yet.
Right.
It all starts in the mind, and so if you observe, you can be like, oh, this is where this thought came from, and that's not really useful for me, and I guess that's where you can start making better decisions and maybe coming out of inaction so that you can. And this is where I'm proposing that there's higher wisdom in not being a cave monk or a cave meditator and like trying to work within a societal framework. Renunciation.
Yes.
I once read an essay about that, like, and that's
I lost my train of thought.
Damn, bro, that's because we have so many answers.
There's so many answers.
We're trying to look for questions now, and
the question. So it's okay. So, and here's the big answer. All right, everybody's listening. You're trying to be like, all right, what am I?
I've been waiting for this moment.
Everyone's like, what do I do? All right, okay, here's what you do. All right, this is what you do. Okay.
We're all listening, bro.
You're trying to figure out what to do. Okay, so step 1. Okay, awareness. The first step to anything is awareness. Okay, step 1, awareness. Be aware of where you are, how you got here, what's happening. As accurately as possible, be aware. Step 2, what do you value? What is important?
What is it that you value? Yes.
All right, step 3, take the action that will most positively take you towards that and positively influence other people out of the possible actions you could take.
Make an attempt.
And then make an attempt and do it. All right? It's simple. Simple. All right?
That's a very, 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 very elegant framework, I have to say. And the fact that you came with that on the spot is just really impressive, man, let me tell you.
Yeah, well, I know a thing or two. All right, I know a thing or two about.
Yeah, I can tell. I think this is gonna help a lot of people. And
can you take that apart? What do you think? Is that it?
That's it. I think that's it. I think people need to write it down and start implementing that. Like, stop questioning everything. Stop looking for more answers and more questions. This is it. Follow the framework. It's a protocol that works. And if you implement it, you'll find some results.
I need help from you on the second part of this protocol.
And by the way, this is $39.99, and we're gonna open up a donations website after this episode. Because this information is really, really going to help a lot of people.
Hang on. It's not. I'm just checking here. It's not $39.99. If it's for the next. Oh, that's right. In the next 27 minutes. The next 27 minutes.
Totally forgot that part.
You get 20% off, and
it's a limited offer.
It's a limited offer. It's. I mean, I've been talking to. I wasn't really supposed to. We weren't supposed to bring this up today. I mean, we're basically losing. We're losing money. We're losing money if we do this.
If
but
we do it for free, it's also the amount of time that we've put into this. It's just crazy. People need to know that. Like, hours and hours of research and planification and strategy sessions. And
if we wanted to do this just to make money, then we're doing it wrong, because this is gonna. I mean, we're gonna lose money here. So if you get in within the, I've got a timer. It's 24 minutes now. If you get in, you get 20% off. And but
the value that you're going to find in that course is just incredible. I mean, incredible. It's magnificent. And I don't think you can find this for free anywhere.
You also
this information is not for free online. This is something that we put together for you guys.
A free DVD, right? They also get a free DVD?
And VHS tape.
You get a free DVD and you get a free VHS.
Yeah. Just because we're not really sure if some people have updated their system yet, and we could also do floppy disk, but I'm pretty sure most people are not running on floppy disks nowadays.
Can I ask you a question about the second part of the protocol?
Sure.
So
by the way, I already know what you're gonna ask, and I already have the answers, so we can just go through it.
So the second, okay, perfect. I'm glad you know the answer to this, and that makes me happy. So the second step is, what do you value? What are you trying to get to? Make a decision that most accurately takes you towards that goal and that valued end, and also most positively impacts those around you and hopefully society at large. How do you how do you determine that? How do you determine what, so now you know what you're trying to do, you know what you're trying to get to. Now you're trying to choose what the thing is to do that's going to get you there and what's most going to help people. How do you do that? How do you?
Well, here's the thing, you know,
And
value structures are tricky.
This is on the DVD, so don't give it all away, but give some away.
Yeah, just a little tease. Okay,
little tease.
Value structures are tricky, basically. You can never be sure that your value hierarchy is really aligned with your philosophical principles. And basically what you need to do is start asking questions, you know, and start writing down. You know, that writing down aspect is the materialization of your thought process in crystal clear, handwritten precision to realize the intellectual capacity that you possess to understand yourself better through your own processes. You don't even need to engage in conversations with someone else, which also might be extremely helpful. But if you start engaging in conversations with yourself and start exploring your philosophical principles from a perspective of cause and effect, what happens if I do A? What happens if I don't do A or B?
Okay,
right?
so
because
for
it's
every...
not also only about doing, it's about not doing.
Okay.
But it's tricky. It's tricky. No one else can do that for you, and people have tried. And you've been programmed to fall into someone else's value hierarchy for years. But I think eventually you need to come up with your own, and you need to refine that. It's going to come primarily from an outer source, and it might be religious if you were brought up in raised in a religious context. But if you revisit those ideas and try to boil them down to principles, meaning the consequences of that idea, you know, the significance and consequences of doing or not doing something, then you can go from there, maybe.
So it's a process. Thank you for your wisdom. So it's it's a process of listing the options down, coming up with options. How many options should you come up with? Is there a general...
The more options you come up with, the higher the possibility of confusion and decision exhaustion.
Okay.
Is that a thing?
What if you start, and what if you start, and I'm not talking about me here. Okay. But if you tend to continuously explore variables, and you're someone who tends to come up with more and more options, and just you spend your time exploring the options because it feels like this is on step 2 of the spoken openness life protocol, and so I'm on step 2. I'm doing step 2. I'm not wasting time here. How do you avoid getting trapped on step 2?
Well, here's the thing. You can try to avoid the traps.
I'm not talking about me.
No, because we both have been through this many times, and
of course
we could think of ourselves as experts, although we choose not to because we're humble about it, right?
Yeah.
But
I would prefer master.
Basically, yeah, it's more of a masterful humility. Masterful humility.
Yep.
But just to not put you on the spot, of course, I'm gonna speak about it just from. It's like an example. I'm gonna make an example.
Hit me with the CG.
If you attempt to not fall in a trap, you will approach the process from a defensive place.
Yep.
And so the only thing that really helps you progress and not get lost in a specific part of a process, but have some sort of progression from A to B. It's actually falling in traps that you didn't see coming, and then noticing what it is that triggered the stagnation process after you fell for it. Right? So that just takes me back to people giving you the answer versus you going through the process and coming up with the answer from your own experience, from your own testing.
Okay, so let me try to convert that into a rule that's possible to follow. So let's say that the rule is, for approaching rule 2, the rule is to, when you uncover an option of something you can do, that if it succeeds, it gets you closer to the thing you want, and if you fail, it doesn't destroy everything. You can tell what if it fails, you can understand that it's not so horrible that it will destroy any potential to make one of the other options. So if you come across any of the options, you're saying, I want to get to B, and right now I'm at A. I could do this, I could do this, I could do option 1, 2, or 3, or 4, and you're coming up with options, and you're like, well, what's the first option where you know what would, if you succeed, it will take you closer to B. And also, if you fail, it doesn't prevent you from doing another option. So as soon as you have an option like that, do it, because you might fall into the pitfall or the hole. But you know what that hole might be, and you know that if you're in that hole, you know that you can still try one of the other options.
For sure. Yes, I agree with that. And also know that one of the most popular holes and tricks that are going to be presented to you at the beginning of this process, they have to do with basically you thinking that certain choice is correct, but not being able to know the difference, not being able to see through the consequences or the ripple effect of that action. And if that's the case, I just want to say that's okay. We can't always see far. Sometimes we're not standing on higher ground so that we can see very far away. Sometimes you can't even see the horizon. Sometimes you're not even on an exterior. Sometimes you're indoors in the middle of 4 walls and no windows, right? And so if that's the case, I would say that inaction, over-analyzation, and passivity, which, I mean, that's the same as inaction, basically. But though that mindset generally tends to mediocrity, stagnation, depression, feeling of lack of worth, lack of potential, lack of not being able to navigate the times. And so just try to go with whatever choice you think is more aligned, is more in tune with yourself, is less likely to cause negative effects, and take that experience and go from there.
And what I'm trying to get to is, don't find the best option. Find the first option that you think will get you closer to B, that will not destroy you if you fail. And in the failing...
That's key, yes.
And in the failing, as you said, you will get a better map of the terrain. You'll know, oh, well, there is a hole. There's a massive hole here. And maybe your passive mindset from your indecision mindset before didn't fall into that hole, but it also doesn't know that there's a hole there. And now you know that there's a hole there. So your clarity of the environment has been upgraded. And what we're looking for is a continuous upgrade of the environment, so you can get to a place where you're able to make more clear decisions because your understanding of the reality has been upgraded.
Yeah, where you're able to face the answer, like that mechanical, right? The problem is not to find the answer. You need to face the answer.
I was just about to say that.
What does that mean?
I was just about to. So
please elaborate for me, because
so I think,
I mean, this is really something.
I think, and it's Tirense.
Tirense, yeah, I think he was Italian. Tirense McKenna.
Tirense McKenna.
Tirense McKenna.
Tirense McKenna.
That guy was really.
I think it's McKenna. Tirense McKenna.
Kind of like accent the last A, McKenna. Yeah, true.
Can you repeat the quote again, and can you please use open and close quotes so that I don't...
So, open quote. The problem is not to find the answer, it's to face the answer, end quote. Terence McKenna.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
I was lost. I was like, who said that again? So
that
I think
guy said that.
So I agree, because that's Mr. Indecision guy is going, well, okay, this I seem to have found a couple options that I could do that would take me closer to B. And if they didn't work out, it's not going to be the end of the world. I'll still be able to make, but you tend to go, well, okay, I don't want to face that as an answer though. I'm going to continue to look for the perfect solution. And as we said before, you can't make a perfect solution because you actually can't see everything that's there. You don't know what holes are there. So it's impossible to understand all the variables. So don't try to find all the variables. Right. And most people, I think, and I'm not talking about me, most people don't want to find a solution sometimes, because if you find the solution, you have to face it. If you find it, you have to say, well, now I have to go through it, risk failure now.
Right. Yes. Yeah. And most people don't want to risk failure.
Most people don't want to do that. And if it's information, I think we're in a time, and this can wave into something else. I think right now we are in a time where people are very, or this is and this is another conversation, but people tend to hold close their worldviews, their ideologies, their frameworks of reality. They hold on to them very closely. It becomes very important for identity. They praise them. They consume information that will confirmation bias. People will get into echo chambers. And
they want other people to value them. Yeah.
And if you come across something that is an anomaly, you even if it could be true, you are not going to want to believe that it's true or investigate it further if it will deteriorate some of the truth claims or some of the things that are within the framework that you're already operating within. And so
it makes the whole house of cards just fall.
And I think there is a benefit to anomaly hunt. And I would like to, perhaps that is another wave, is the benefit of anomaly hunting for the expanding and providing details to much needed details to whatever framework you're operating within.
And also some tools and tips and hacks and strategies to navigate that. Whenever you find yourself,
I'm excited for those,
encountering some piece of information that really makes your whole paradigm crumble, right? It makes some deep questions that alter your sleeping patterns, and they start altering your personality almost.
Wow. There's some powerful ideas you're talking about.
That's hard to navigate, whenever you find those questions that come up in nightmares again and again. I mean, I'm not talking about me. I'm sure that happens to a lot of people out there.
Takeaways from this podcast, I would like to take away the idea that everything you do will result in something. Even if you're not doing anything, it's still going to result in something, and you can't get out of No matter how
Yeah.
far out you expand your perspective, you're nested within systems, and there's no way out of that. And to consider that perhaps a way forward and a perspective to hold is to know where you are, awareness, then considering where you want to get and what your values are, and then find possible solutions that, if you take them and you fail, will not destroy you completely. And as soon as you find anything like that, do it and explore the pitfalls and discover what they may teach you and what they mean, and that they have meaning, and all those things have meaning. And
and if it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger.
Sideways. Oh.
Oh my God.
Stronger. Sorry.
Stronger. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the whole other thing. I don't think we want to get into that. You know.
At least it made you understand something that you should not do again, or that can happen. It gives you it shows you where the hole is.
Yeah. If you're looking for coherence and you find incoherence, then
trust the process.
Trust the process. Trust the spoken openness.
Yes.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Self-help. Life coaching. Analyzing. Mystery-inducing experience.
The most important thing anyone has ever said to me is, when you take a step and you see what the horizon can deliver, then the recipient of that delivery when you take a step and see what the horizon can provide as a delivery, then accept the notion of the recipient as the deliverer within the framework of the horizon.
Yes, that's so important nowadays. The framework of the horizon is something that everyone needs to keep in mind. And like, if it doesn't really matter if you take a step backwards or a step forwards. If you want to see things from a higher perspective, a bigger picture, if you want to come closer and see the details and super, high definition close up modality. That's also a way to go.
Yes.
What I think we agree on is that passivity will hurt you in the long run.
In the long run.
Yes. It's the attempt that has some value in growth.
Yes. And growth will always set you
apart from freedom.
From freedom.
No. It'll set you free.
In a way, it will.
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to get to here is.
Because, ultimately, if you have a dependency towards freedom, you don't want to really be free. So you want to be free from that.
Yep.
That's a thing to consider and keep in mind.
Yeah. And the last thing that we want to keep in mind is that freedom from desire is not necessarily freedom from ego.
Yes. That's a big point, by the way.
Yeah.
You can try to have fewer desires, but try to get rid of ego. Good luck with that. Hey, buddy. Hey. Good
luck with that.
Good luck with speaking, by the way.
Yeah, try it out sometime. Yeah, I know. Well, right. I appreciate the convo, and looking forward to delving deeper
on the next wave.
In all seriousness, I think there's a lot to explore further.
Likewise.
And I look forward to it. I appreciate it.
In all seriousness, I do too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I appreciate the seriousness.
All right.
Keep that going. All right.
And in pure joke, like this is not serious at all. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon, everyone.